Welcome back, class 11. Today I will be starting with a new chapter, that is political ideologies. So, under this, there are different ideologies like liberalism, socialism, communism, and fascism. But we will be focusing upon two ideologies, that is liberalism and socialism. So, before going deep under the study, let's understand what is political ideologies. So you need to be clear with these two terms and understand what is liberalism and socialism. Now I can roughly say that political ideology is what it is a certain set of certain set of what ethical it is certain set of ethical ideas, principles, doctrines, myths, or symbols. Okay, symbols of a social movement or institution social movement or institution that explains how a society should work or function, and it acts as this political ideology acts as a blueprint for certain social order. Blueprint for what? Social order. So this political ideology is a certain set of ethical ideas, that is principles, doctrines, myths, or some symbols of a social movement or institution that explains how a society should work or functions, or it acts as this political ideology acts as a blueprint of what? Social order. So under this we will be studying about two political ideologies, that is liberalism and socialism. Okay, so moving forward, in this module, like in this chapter, we will be discussing about liberalism and socialism. Under liberalism, we will understand what is its meaning plus definition and its features, and simultaneously we will be learning about meaning plus definition of socialism and its features. So let's proceed. So to understand liberalism, what is liberalism? In 18th century, liberalism had a powerful influence upon the Western Europe and America. So now out here, this is just a history. Okay, I'm just telling a history of how liberalism came into existence. Okay, in 18th century, the liberalism had a powerful influence in Western Europe and America. In 18th century, there were different most important incidents that were happening in 18th century, because in 18th century it was a a base of both what French Revolution as well as American War of Independence. So I know that you have heard about French Revolution as well as American War of Independence. So liberalism was the base of these two phenomenon that had happened in 18th century. The states of Western Europe totally became totally imbued in the ideology of liberalism. The states of Western Europe, there are different states in Western Europe, so they totally adopted liberalism. they totally adopted liberalism because it was one of the most important aspect that people wanted at that period of time during the entire period of Cold War. Now we are talking about 19th century, okay? We finished talking about 18th century. Now in entire 19th century, that the period of Cold War, this what happened means world war had already ended, and after the end of world war, cold war started because USA became very dominative country, single power holder. USA became single power holder. Okay, so after the end of Cold War, till this is a period of Cold War. Okay, Cold War from 1945 to 1991. It is a period of Cold War. The world continued to live in a debate of liberalism versus socialism or Marxism. Now, there after the end of Cold War, numerous country started to debate upon the different political ideologies to be followed, either liberalism, either socialism, either Marxism. So in the last decade of 20th century, now we are talking about 20th century, we finished 18th also, we finished 19th also, and we are talking about 20th century. What happened is that in the last decade of 20th century, liberalism got universal acceptance as the popular and followed ideology. In 20th century, liberalism got accepted as a popular ideology. So what are the reasons for popular acceptance of liberalism as the popular ideology? We will understand in a subsequent slides. Now moving forward, let's understand what are the meaning and definition of liberalism. Now I will be discussing about meaning. Okay, the word liberalism owes its origin to the Latin word libers, which means a free man. So free men, libers means free man. The word itself says that a person is free. Okay, now the liberalism stands for, what does this liberalism stands for? Liberalism stands for socio economic and political order wherein man may feel free, safe, and get encouraged to develop himself fully without any outside interference. Okay, so we already know that an ideology is a blueprint of social order, right? Social order. So liberalism stands for social, economic, and political order where one may feel, if the states gives us free and safe environment and encouraged us to develop fully without any interference, it's called it stands for liberalism. Liberalism advocates the aim of the state politics. What the aim of state politics is to preserve individual rights and freedom. So what are the main aim of the liberalism? The main aim of liberalism is to preserve individual rights and freedom. Okay, individual rights as well as freedom. It stands for the development of individual and his society. So this is one of the most important thing, that liberalism, you need to think it about as a free man. A man is free. If a person is free, or if he or she feels safe and get encouraged to do different activities without any interference, that stands for liberalism. And the main postulates of liberalism is that the aim of the state is to preserve what individual rights and freedom, and it stands for development of individual. It has a faith in human potential. It has a faith in human potential. Who has? Liberalism has faith in human potential and accepts that human creativity and rationality can provide the best foundations for development. So liberalism totally gives the will of free man. Okay, if a person is free, then he has the better capacity to develop himself. And simultaneously, liberalism has a faith in human potential. Okay, human can do what not things. Human can develop so many things for the betterment of the population. And liberalism has faith in human potential as well as accepts the creativity of human, and trusts the rationality of human, and can provide the best foundation for development. This is synchronicity. First human potential, then it comes with human creativity, then it comes with rationality, and ultimately the new foundations of development are taken place. So these coherent things that happens in a society is has given by liberalism, and it talks about free men. Now, liberalism rejects the concentration of power in the hands of a state in the name of welfare or development or equality. Now, these are the key words. Okay, liberalism rejects the power in the hands of state. In liberalism, totally rejects that the power should be in the hand of a state in the name of welfare, development, or equality. But in reality, if that power of a state power if the power is in the hand of the state, but the power, those people or those bunch of organization are not doing any good for welfare or development activities or equality given to the person, that notions is totally rejected by liberalism. Now this is just an extra note. Contemporary liberalism, contemporary modern liberalism. Okay, so more in contemporary times, what modern liberalism talks about. Modern liberalism talks about securing ideals of justice, liberty, equality, welfare of state, and all-round development of individuals in a society as a goal. So it's very easy. Contemporary liberalism talks about securing ideals of justice, then liberty, then equality, and welfare of the state. And if these things are there, there will be an all-round development of individual will be there, plus society as goals. So modern liberalism or contemporary liberalism talks about this notion. So this is just an extra for your better understanding only. Now moving forward, let's talk about definition of liberalism. So it is very much simple. Liberalism is no doubt related to freedom. This you need to write it exactly, because it is a definition given by Harold J. Lasky. So liberalism is no doubt it's related to freedom. Think about free men and freedom. So free man, a person wants to be a free, but if a society wants to be free, it's totally of freedom. Now moving forward, what are the features? In your book there are multiple features, but I have chosen 5 features that you can highlight. Okay, number first is recognition of importance of individual, faith in the rationality of individual, opposition to blind faith and tradition, and support for human rights and freedom, and state as a means of individual as an end. Now let's understand one by one. What is the feature? Recognition of importance of individual. So here are 4 points that explains the number 1 feature. Liberalism gives utmost importance to individual. It gives utmost importance to individual. Individual is accepted as a central point. Individual is accepted as a central point for all political, economic, as well as social activities. So you need to be very much clear that the liberalism totally focus about the development of an individual, and individual is a central point where it gives political, economic, and social activities. Okay, it acts as a main postulates. So without individual it is meaningless. No, if a society does not has individual, it is meaningless to talk as a society, talk as a society, because society is nothing but a large and a group of individuals. How a society is created, how a society is created, if only one single person, if only one single person is there, then that is not considered as a society. But if there are numerous people in that organization, that is called a society. So society is for individual and not the individual for society. So society is related to individual because it has a chain reaction and people are attached with each other via society. So society is for individual and individual is not for the society. Moving forward, number two is faith in rationality of individual. That is number second feature. It has a firm faith in intelligence and rationality of individual. As I have said in the beginning of my slides, liberalism talks about rationality and it has utmost faith in the intelligence of an human being and rationality of individual. Being rational, everybody individual knows what is good for him and what is not. So what does this rationality mean? Rationality means a person, every person has an ability to distinguish what is right and what is wrong, what is good and bad for him or her. Okay, so no person can be forced to accept and follow such conventions, laws and principles. So but it is like in liberalism, no person is forced to profess any kind of principles. Okay, he or she is free, either he can opt out or he can opt in. Okay, they are free. So moving forward, now number third feature is opposition to blind faith and tradition. So opposition to blind faith and tradition means medieval age was bound down by superstitions and tradition. Now, before coming to the advent of 18th century, what happened? There was too much of superstitions and blind faith were there. Okay, liberalism totally discards superstitious traditions to follow. Okay, the political, economic and religious institutions were looked upon as ideals. Now what, at that period of time, what were looked upon as ideals? Economic, religious and political were institution were looked as an ideal. The liberalists opposed this institution. Okay, which institution? This political, economic and religious institution, and prepared a way for further changes. Now, the liberalist. What does this liberalist means? Those who follow the principle of liberalism are called as liberalist. Okay, so these liberalist, after like 20th century, they totally opposed the institution of political, economic and social. Okay, but they prepared a different method, or they changed it further. Liberalists had a faith in superstition and just had a little faith in superstition and old dogmatic tradition. So it totally like, but the liberalist has little faith, not just deep faith, but just a little faith in the superstitions as well as old dogmatic traditions. So moving forward, number four, support for human rights and freedom. Who supports liberalism totally supports the human rights and freedom. Liberalist supports human rights and freedom. As you know that every country has its constitution, and constitution provides this rights and freedom to every individual from right from the birth. So no state or society should abolish or restrict them. So no state is there to abolish or restrict them. State is there to protect all the basic rights. So let's understand what is basic right. The basic right is right to life, right to property, right to liberty, equality and justice. These are the basic right of an human beings that are given by a state, and no one is state is there, and state should not like state is one mechanism that has to protect the basic right of these people. Okay, so liberalism supports human rights and freedom. So the last feature that I want to discuss in this liberalism part is that state as a means and individual as the end. State as the means and individual as the end. So it is it regards state only as an institution. Liberalism uh, states that state is only as an institution which has been created for the comfort and full development of individuals inhabiting in that state. So liberalism says that state is as an institution has been created just to comfort or just to give development to the individuals residing in that state. But now it says that state is a means. Okay, state is a means and its aim is to development of individuals. So the main aim of state should be development of individuals. So this is your fifth feature. So now moving forward, let's talk about socialism. We have already completed liberalism. Now we will talk about socialism. What does this socialism mean? Socialism. The term socialism can be traced to the Latin word sociare, which means combine or share. Okay, which means combine or share. So these are the terms that requires your understanding. So with these words combine and share, we have a different connotation of understanding. Okay, we have a certain base, okay, to understand what does this combine mean, share means. Combine and share, combine and share, it will give us an idea that state was a product. They followed the ideology of combining and sharing. So it was first used in the year 1827, which was used, the word socialism was first used in 1827. Moving forward, meaning of socialism. The word socialism indicates a system of organizing the economy as well as politics of a society. Okay, now it gives how how a system is organizing the economy as well as the politics of a society. So the main feature is a state ownership. What is the main feature of liberalism? Main postulate, it supports state ownership of means and a mode of production, distribution, exchange of profit. It denotes both doctrine and political movement. Now the meaning of socialism indicates that it is a system of organizing economy as well as politics of society. So it is economy and politics of society. So the main feature, it totally talks about state ownership, that state is the main agency for looking of means of production, means and mode of production, distribution and exchange of profit. So totally it should be in the hands of state, and it denotes both doctrine as well as a political movement. So now let's talk about definition. So I have pointed out definition of liberalism of Harold J. Lasky, as well as in socialism also I will be pointing about the Lasky's definition of socialism. Socialism implies such a control of production and distribution of wealth. Control of production, number one. Distribution of wealth, number two, which will enable the average citizen, which will enable, number third point is, which will enable the average citizen to have access to resources and materials, which will enable him to potentially buy himself at the best. Now so liberalism, now number one point is liberalism, if this one is a person, okay, and liberalism out here, liberalism is implies the control of production as well as control of production, distribution of wealth. And why this control of production, distribution? In order to give this average person in a society, there are different kinds of person. One may be rich, one may be poor, one may be mediocre, one may be BPL, below poverty line. But the state sees that states control the production plus distribution of wealth. So state sees who all are rich and who all are poor, and in that way it will give profit. It will help that average it will help that average people or average citizen to access about what kind of resources and materials, so that he or she can benefit himself by the things that are given by society. So it's very simple. Socialism means that control of production and distribution of wealth. Control and distribution of wealth, in that controlling, that will provide an average citizen as an opportunity to access those resources as well as materials, and with the help of that resources and materials, it he or she will himself or herself give protection for himself and herself and her family to the best. So let's understand the historical connotation about the socialism. The concept of socialism first appeared in the famous work of Thomas More in 1478 and 1535. So the concept of socialism first appeared in the famous work of whom? Thomas More in 1478 and 1535. His book Utopia was published in 1516. It was regarded as a modern work of socialism. Whose book? Thomas More's book was Utopia, and it was published in 1516, and it was regarded as a modern work of socialism. Now let's talk about three utopian socialists. Three utopian socialists were Robert Owen, Saint Simon, and Charles Fourier. So with these utopian socialists, why it is called utopian socialist? Because these are the three persons that can be regarded as socialists, old socialist. Okay, so after the utopian socialist, now we completed who were utopian socialists. After the utopian socialists, the most prominent names linked with the theory of socialism are Friedrich Engels and Karl Marx. So Friedrich Engels and Karl Marx. So socialist Friedrich Engels and Karl Marx, don't forget. So now the features of socialism, we will be discussing the features of socialism. So number one feature is emphasis on society, abolition of private ownership, organic unity of society, opposition of capitalism, and elimination of competition. Now let's understand emphasize on society. The word itself says the subtopic itself says liberal socialism totally give emphasis upon the society. Okay, where liberalism, it talks about the individual as a free man, but so in socialism what happens, that individual cannot do anything alone. Okay, development as well as welfare of a society can only be achieved through unity and cooperation. The development and welfare of a society, we are talking about society. Okay, it can only be achieved through unity and cooperation. Socialism subordinates the individual interest of a society or for a common good. Now in liberalism we talk about like it gives potential to an individual, but in socialism we talk about as a society as a whole. It does not regard individual interest. It does not regard individual interest. It is totally against the individual interest. Okay, but it talks about the common good for a society. So socialism totally emphasizes on what? Society. Okay, so second one, um, abolition of private ownership. Now according to Professor Jod, three important elements of socialism are common to all socialist schools. They are the private ownership. The private ownership means the production of should be abolished and replaced with public ownership and control of industries and services. So the whatever the private ownership, the it should be public. Okay, so the control of industries as well as services also should be controlled by not private but public. Development of industries are required for satisfying the needs of the society and not for the personal profit. So why the development of industries are required? Development of industries are required for the for satisfying the needs of society and not for personal profit. Okay, the development of industry should be there for earning for moving your society in the development phase further, but not for the personal profit. So motive of social service. Now let's talk about the motive. What the motive of social service should be substitute of initiative or private profit. So it should be like, it should totally give about, talk about public ownership. Okay, so it can match up with the uh, things that are totally discussed by the socialism, as socialism emphasize upon the society, and society should be the main target of common good. Society should be the main target. Now moving forward, organic unity of society. Now what does this organic unity of society means? First one, only equality ensures liberty as per socialist. Okay, only equality. What? Equality ensures the liberty as per socialist. The socialist says that equality is ensured by liberty, thus privileging equality over liberty and society over individual will create condition for individual liberty as both independent and organic matter. Now, only when man is free of hunger and ignorance can he use his freedom for self advancement, for his mental and natural faculties. Uh, Now, if a man is not free, okay, he suffer, like he and his society is in hunger, ignorance, then the freedom that is given by the state cannot be utilized um, utilized properly. Therefore, a man should be like men should give the privilege of liberty. Okay, that he or she can do better for himself. And also the main thing is that the main postulates of a society is organic unity. Okay, there should be like independent to each other, but with coherence with the development of society as well as for the common good. Opposition to capitalism. Number fourth point is capitalism. Now, capitalism is different political ideology. Okay, so capitalism gives rise to unequal distribution of wealth among different class of the society, because capitalism talks about rich getting richer, richer, and poor getting poorer. So, capitalism gives rise to unequal distribution of wealth among different classes of society. Yes, because the wealth notion is out here, because rich will always get richer, poor will always get poorer. That's why there will be an unequal distribution of wealth among the different classes of the society. So, socialism is opposed to capitalism. So, it's natural, right? Because society in socialism they talk about the giving equal opportunities to every individual who have less access to the services provided by the state. So socialism is opposed to capitalism, because capitalism is concerned with only the principle of profit and ignores common good. Socialism talks about common good, whereas capitalism talks about earning more and more profit. Without attention to common good, jealousy and antagonism rises in a society. So, in a society, the main focus should be of common good. But without attention to common good, what happens? If the common good is not there, jealousy and antagonism rises in a society. What does this antagonism? If a jealousy is there, antagonism means hostile environment. Okay, where there is no rules and regulation, where like poor are rich are richer, and there is unequal distribution of wealth. If there is unequal distribution of wealth is there, there is like war, jealousy, and there will be fight every now and then. They will be in a state of perpetual war, etc. Okay, so if the common good is not there in a society, jealousy and hostile environment rises in the society. So number fifth one, elimination of competition. Socialism believes in elimination of competition as it turns society in battlefield. Socialism tries to eliminate the competition, because competition turns the society into battlefield. So socialism tries to eliminate the competition. Capitalism is responsible for growth of antisocial activities and violence in the society. So capitalism totally talks about profit and loss. Okay, profit and loss. It will not look after for common good. So if capitalism is then what happen means antisocial activities and violence of society will be there, because they only talk about competition, they only talk about profit and loss. Hence, the state that fosters cooperation and common good over private profit will foster both in peace in society and healthy sense of competition. What happens if a society talks about common good, if they talk about public ownership then what happened, the society will develop in peace, as well as there will be healthy sense of competition, there will not be a unhealthy sense of competition. Okay, so this is your fifth feature of socialism. As I have completed both both new chapter, that is political ideology, I have already completed today. So next class I'll start with a new chapter. Till then, stay safe and please make your notes up to date. Now I'll move my pace a little bit faster because I need to complete the whole syllabus too. Okay, complete your notes.